It normally takes a lot to make me angry, but there is something that has been pissing me off recently, and that is that I am speaking to so many intelligent, wonderful, creative, kind, thoughtful human beings, talented beyond belief. And those human beings, my coaching clients, are literally apologizing for existing. I coach a lot of healthcare professionals who are people pleasers, and listen, this has to stop. We have to learn to overcome people pleasing and recognize that not everybody is going to like us, that you don't have to go out of your way to make sure that everybody else is happy and make sure that everybody else's needs are met. We need to get over people pleasing, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you some ideas of how to do that. We're going to be talking about how to enter your villain era. So if you're a people pleaser, you're probably the kind of person who is so thoughtful, so lovely, so kind. You want to make sure that everybody else is happy, and it's easier for you to focus on other people's needs and happiness than it is on yourself. Maybe when you put yourself first, you feel like a burden. Maybe you don't want to take up space. Maybe you apologize too much. I have a whole video about 7 signs that you're a people pleaser, which I'll link up here and you can check that out. And entering your villain era is all about embracing the side of you that isn't necessarily so kind and so giving. We want to become a little bit selfish. We want to embrace the side of us that is able to prioritize our own needs and say, you know what, I do deserve to take up space. I do deserve to have preferences and opinions and go against the grain and be different from other people. So this is what we're talking about in this video. And by the way, if we haven't met before, I'm Dr. Sarah. I'm a medical doctor and an online coach, and I make all sorts of videos about overcoming burnout, about overcoming people pleasing, and lots of things self-development. So if you're interested in those kind of videos, you can hit the notification bell down below. Make sure you're subscribed so that you see any videos that I make. So entering your villain era is about embracing some of the negative sides of ourselves, our shadow selves. So one of the things that we can feel if we're in our villain era is maybe jealous of other people. Think about villains. A lot of the time they live in a state of envy and jealousy. And when we're people pleasers, we probably push that sort of thought down if we see other people online or in real life that we feel a bit jealous or envious of. So maybe in your own life right now, if you notice yourself feeling jealous or envious, perhaps you just tell yourself you're not allowed to feel that way and you feel guilty for it. But I want to encourage you to shine a light on what you think might be the negative sides of yourself. So if you feel jealous, if you feel envious, what is that trying to tell you? It's data. Think about it from a really neutral standpoint and view it all as information. Maybe that jealousy or envy that you're trying to ignore is actually showing you an area of your life that you should be focusing on a little bit more. So for example, there's a person that I follow online, and I noticed a few months ago that she was posting all of these things about her hosting all of these live workshops and seminars. And I noticed myself as I was scrolling through her page, feeling this sense of jealousy and envy coming up. And it would be really easy for me to push that aside and just think to myself, well, it's okay for her because of X, Y, Z. You know, that's what we have a tendency to do as human beings. But if you really embrace that jealousy or envy and start to think about where that's come from and explore it, tug on that thread a little bit, for me, it made me realize that actually those are some of the things that I want to be doing. And so that jealousy and envy becomes useful. It becomes an opportunity for me to shine a light on areas of my life that I'm not putting enough attention on. And so I went out of my way after that to host some live workshops and some masterclasses. And now I look at that person's page and I don't feel jealous or envy about her. I feel really happy for her. I'm really excited and inspired by her. So that is your first piece of homework from this video. Think about times when you felt jealous or envious recently and pull on those threads. Don't just push those thoughts aside. Think about what they're trying to show you about your own life. The next piece of advice for entering your villain era is recognizing that it's okay to be the bad guy in somebody else's story. If you've watched any of my 30 Things series, you'll have heard me talking about this. This is so key for overcoming people pleasing and entering your villain era. We are so desperate as people pleasers to be liked by everybody. to make sure that everybody has a good opinion of us, and to try and control what the narrative is around us. And while that seems like it's probably quite lovely and quite benign, it's actually really dangerous, because it takes our focus off of our own actions and our own thoughts and our own opinions, and it puts the focus on trying to control what everybody else thinks of us. And we're then manipulating our own behavior to be liked and to try and make sure that we're always viewed in a positive light. It's a draining and soul destroying way to live. So I want to encourage you to realize that it's okay to be the bad guy in somebody else's story. Now, I shared a story about this, and it was my mum that told me this when I was maybe like 19, and it stuck with me ever since. And what happened was, I was dating this guy, everything fell apart, and he started spreading all these untrue rumors about me, and I was so upset about it. And I remember speaking to my mum and saying, oh, I thought that we would carry on being friends after this, and being so hurt by it and so upset. And she just said to me, you have to cut it off, and you have to recognize that it's okay to be the bad guy in his story and maybe in other people's. Let them believe whatever they want to believe and carry on with your own life. Don't keep focusing on that. Allow yourself to be the bad guy in his story. And it was just like a real light bulb moment for me. So I want to pass that on to you and help you to enter your villain era by being the bad guy in somebody else's story. Stop trying to control the narrative. And that can also apply to setting boundaries. If you've got somebody in your life who is behaving in a way that you don't think is acceptable, and you don't want to accept that kind of behavior, set those boundaries. That person might talk badly about you. That person might disapprove of you. That person might be critical of you. But that is outside of your area of control. What you are able to control is the kind of behavior that you will and won't accept, your own behavior as well, but you can't keep trying to control what everyone else thinks of you. So allow yourself to be the bad guy and stop controlling the narrative. The next thing we're going to talk about in entering your villain era, to stop looking for approval and validation from other people. If you think about villains in films and in stories, they tend to be the loner type. They tend to be quirky and different and be carving their own path in life. And this is what I want to encourage you to do. If you're a people pleaser, maybe you're following the path that somebody else set for you. Maybe you're living a life that doesn't really feel like your own. Maybe you've jumped through all the hoops, been the good girl or good guy, done everything that you were meant to do, and found yourself in a position where you're looking at your life and going, I've done everything right, and yet I'm not enjoying myself. I thought it would be better than this. Maybe you're living somebody else's life just because you've done what you were told to do this whole time. And so I want to encourage you to realize that you're the author of your own story, and it is time to carve out your own path. To start wearing the things that feel good to you, dressing how you want to, styling your hair how you want to start looking for the job that actually lights you up, and pursuing hobbies that you enjoy, spending time with the people that you actually want to spend time with, or spend more time on your own if that's what you enjoy. Embracing your quirks, embracing what feels right to you, and not just jumping through the hoops and doing what everybody tells you should be doing. It is your life. You are the one who has to live it 24/7. So stop just looking for approval and validation from everybody else, and start thinking about what you want. Screw the people pleasing. This is about becoming the villain, entering your villain era. And I also want you to start thinking about your quirks, the things that are maybe different about you, or maybe something that you even got bullied for or criticized for in your younger years, or even now. I want you to start thinking about those as valuable assets, as things that make you stand out from the crowd, that make you different from other people. We are not put on this earth to be here and to be exact replicas of everybody else. We are unique. And I want you to think about somebody you love, or somebody that you admire. It doesn't have to be someone you know in person, although it can be, but think about someone that you just really admire, really love, really respect. Now I want you to think about something about them that is kind of quirky. Maybe they've got a funny laugh. Maybe they've got a big gap in their teeth, or maybe they've got something really unusual about them. Does that make you like them any less? No, of course it doesn't. It makes them quirky. It makes them who they are. It makes them individual. Maybe it even makes you love them more, because that is part of them. So I want you to think about what your quirks are and figure out how to embrace them. That is your homework from this part of the video. Write that down. Think about what your quirks are and embrace them. The next part of entering your villain era and overcoming people pleasing is about becoming selfish. This is going to be the hardest thing, I think, for people pleasers. Putting your own needs first rather than bending over backwards to help everybody else all the time. If you're a people pleaser, chances are that your calendar is full of things you've said yes to, helping other people out, taking a phone call from that friend even when you're really exhausted and you actually just need some time to yourself, doing things for everyone else, responsibilities, obligations, favors. Now, while that's really kind and really lovely, you need some time for yourself. You need to put your needs first, prioritize them. Nobody's going to do that for you. Entering your villain era and overcoming people pleasing is about recognizing that you are in the driver's seat of your life. No one's going to hand you what you want on a plate. You have to make it happen. This is definitely a bit of tough love in this video, but take it on board and reflect on areas in your life where you're just giving too much. And maybe it's making you feel a bit resentful. Maybe you're spending all your time and energy helping everybody else and not getting it back from anybody. You know, you're the one who's always hosting, or you're the one who's always traveling a really long way to see people. You're the one who's always lending money or paying for the drinks, paying for the meals, offering to do more, and it's not coming back to you. If you're giving and you're feeling resentful, that is a sign you're giving too much. So start becoming selfish and putting your needs first. Now, one thing I would say here is that what my coaching clients often say to me at this point when I talk about becoming selfish is that, you know, we've been trained, especially as healthcare professionals, we've been trained to give more and to push through and to do as much as we can for everybody else. And that is lovely and it's wonderful. And, you know, it's really nice to be able to help other people and to be kind and caring. I want to remind you that putting your needs over somebody else's wants is not selfish. That is actually self-care. So just remember that your needs are a priority and you're the one who has to make them happen. And I've got a whole video up here about your ultimate self-care guide where I talk about how to make that a reality. So check that out after you've watched this video. So your homework from this section is to journal about some times where you've recently put your needs last and maybe you've ended up feeling resentful about it. Where have you given too much and not had anything in return? The next part of entering your villain era is about letting go of relationships that no longer serve you. When we think about villains, often they're quite lonely characters, they're doing their own thing, and that's because they don't relate to the people around them. And perhaps you are in a position where your friends and the people around you are used to you being a people pleaser. They're used to you being the one that's giving too much. And perhaps once you start setting boundaries, those people are no longer getting from you what they wanted. And so maybe they drop you. Or maybe you're realizing you need to set some boundaries and you need to actually drop them. So think about the relationships where you come away from those experiences feeling drained. We should be surrounding ourselves with people that light us up, that lift us up. Seeing your good friends and family should be like a tonic. It should energize you. It should be like having your batteries topped up. But if you're coming away from certain relationships and feeling drained and feeling like I need to recover after having that experience and having that time with that person, that is a sign that you either need to drop that relationship or spend less time with that person and limit your availability. So have a think about any relationships that perhaps you need to set some boundaries or let those relationships go. It's better to be lonely than to be surrounded by people who don't have your best interests at heart. So if you've watched this video and you've thought to yourself, okay, Sarah, that all sounds great, but like, how do I actually have those conversations? How do I set those boundaries? Well, you are in luck because I have made an entire boundaries masterclass down below. I'll link it in the description box below so you can go and get your hands on that. And that is going to give you actionable, tangible tips to have those conversations, the actual communication skills you need. And not only do you get the whole masterclass, you also get a PDF with loads and loads and loads of examples of how to actually set those boundaries. So I hope you enjoy that. And if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. And you can watch this video right here, which is 7 signs that you're a people pleaser. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.